I'm going to make this one real quick. I'm going to run through this information. I'm not going to go into details. I'm not going to try to explain anything. If you need any kind of repeats, just back up the video, find the name, the numbers, whatever you want to see. But I'll give you links to where you can go to find every single bit of this. This stuff was done. This was a pandemic simulation that was held November the 4th, 2019. There was another one done March the 18th, 2018, and that was some other kind of thing, but that one's kind of interesting too. But this one in particular, done November the 4th, 2019, was on coronavirus. It was put together by the Bill Gates Foundation. I'm gonna give you the names of the companies that had representatives there. The people's names, if you want those, all you have to do is go to Event 201, and the names are, you got about, 5 minutes of some lady beating her gums, and then you got all the people coming in. All right, and yes, I'm out of breath. I'm out of shape. I'm getting old. Marriott International, the UN Foundation, Henry Schein, Bill Gates Foundation, World Bank, China CDC, the former director of U.S. National Security Advisor, AMC Bank, Department of Health and Finance for Australia, Edelman, Lufthansa Group, UPS Foundation, United States CDC, Johnson & Johnson. I hope somebody remembers the deal with Johnson & Johnson several years ago. NBC Universal Media, Monetary Authority for Singapore, and Global Health Security Group. If you want to really do something, research each one of those. Some of the reasons for the pandemic. This is what it's all being blamed on. Climate change, urbanization. They need to get everybody moved into a central location. That's a whole nother story. I can do one on that too. People need to learn it. Deforestation. Now, I will say deforestation contributes to what they consider or what they call climate change. And the reason why is the trees have to absorb CO2, produce oxygen. The ocean absorbs CO2, and that goes back to the whole cycle of time. I've got a video on that. It's climate change. Look at that. That'll explain it. But the problem is we're putting out higher levels of CO2 than what the earth can absorb because we're cutting all the trees down. We're expanding. Corporations are just strip mining stuff. That's all it is. There's more cutting than there is planting. But as far as their version of climate change is bullshit. Sorry. All right. Population density is dangerous. They need to establish more surveillance. If there was more surveillance around the world, they could have stopped the pandemic. So watch for that in the coming year or two. Mass surveillance is fixing to come to every single town in the name of health and safety. That goes back to another video I made. It began in healthy pigs. The new coronavirus started infecting farmers. It caused respiratory illness. Started with mild flu symptoms, goes to severe pneumonia. A lot of people are needing intensive care, and many die. The spreading is rapid. Keep in mind, this was November the 4th, 2019, before any of this stuff nobody knew anything about coronavirus. This was before all that. They're calling it CAPS, the CAPS pandemic, in their simulation. In the first 3 months, 30,000 cases, 2,000 deaths. That's a ratio of 0.066666. For my Bible believing friends, ain't that odd? Calling it CAPS disease, saying that the CAPS disease is more transmittable than SARS and MERS, which COVID is, from what they say. Doubling every week, It multiplies 16 times in a month. It causes serious respiratory disease. The fatality rate is 10%. Some have mild flu-like symptoms. Travelers symptom-free can go into another country, and then within a few hours or so, they start getting sick. They got infected one place, they travel to another country, they get sick, they give it to somebody else, and it spreads. And if you don't do anything else, at least go to the Event 21 first segment. Go to 20 minutes and 35 seconds and tell me why that girl looks like Mark Zuckerberg. It looks like Mark Zuckerberg made up. I'm telling you. Mark Zuckerberg don't look real to me. I don't know what it is. All right. 500,000 in a month. 3 months, 10 million. Markets are down. Vaccine. Now they're saying it'll take, 2 or 3 years to get a vaccine together. But they want to just rush one. We don't have time to wait. Just rush it. So, they can rush it and then kill more people. I don't know. But in the simulation, they have a drug called Extranavir. It's currently used for HIV patients. They said that it cuts down the severity of it and cuts down the symptoms and all that, but it would leave a shortage for the HIV patients. It's just like the malaria drug. It's the same daggum thing. But this was just simulation. No connection, right? They go into how there's a shortage of PPE, the N95 mask. There's, the demand is high, the supplies are low. There's just a massive shortage, and it's causing another problem. The country that produces the drugs, which is China, blocks exportation of them to save them for their own people, which is what China did. And there's a Chinese, what is he? Where'd he go? George Gall, China CDC. Never heard of a Chinaman named George. That right there is odd by itself. We should trust a central entity for all finances and all medications. That would be the UN. And then sure enough, a few minutes later, and the UN fits that bill. So we should trust a central entity, centralized money. Then they get into trying to control it, and you close schools and businesses. And then they get into the discussion of people hoarding. You're hoarding food and medicine. They've already looked into that, which, people panic. They hoard stuff, but you be looking out for a law on hoarding medicine or hoarding money. You watch. They're fixing to make some changes. This is a stepping stone, people. Centralized command to determine where meds go for global greater good. And how do we suppress the rhetoric on social media? Well, a lot of people will throw out, that's conspiracy theory. Is it? Conspiracy theory, that term came up. The FBI coined that term, or the CIA, after the Kennedy assassination because of the witnesses that were there that knew they were lying. Those people were labeled conspiracy theorists. But they knew what they saw. They knew what they heard. But, the news hammers it home. Everybody believes it. Speaking of which, look how many people know daggum. You know good and well the news don't tell you everything. They can take a small story of somebody, an old lady, tripped and fell over and killed an ant. And that would turn into something, it would be a major ordeal. Going to shut the damn town down because this woman, abused an animal or some crap. But as soon as this comes up, almost every one of y'all believe every number coming off the news. Every single one. Censorship. They want to shut everybody up and then flood the media and social media with their version of the truth over and over and over and over until you just go along with it. That's how it works. Then they go back to, here we go, 35,000 It's 3 weeks later, 35,000 to 260,000, 13,000 dead. Then they go back to surveillance. Surveillance, surveillance, surveillance. Mass surveillance everywhere. If they had enough surveillance, they could have stopped this pandemic. That's going to be sold for your safety and health. That's coming. And then they throw some cheap shots out, knowing they're throwing them at Trump, targeting on social media, ban all goods and travel from infected places. Well, Trump tried that in January to secure this country and try to keep this crap out of here. What happened? The Democrats started calling him racist. They attacked him over it. Then, when he lifted the ban to appease all you crybabies, and the infection got here real big, now they're saying, oh, he's dragging his feet. He's irresponsible. He didn't do his job. He's not protecting us. And nothing can make some of y'all jackasses happy. Then they get into global cash. The global crash will change global and political landscape. Now we're going to start seeing everything kind of moving into one. Essential. This came up over and over. They're determining who's essential. Who has the right to travel from, country to country. Government officials do. Now you're getting into the elite can go, but nobody else can go anywhere. That may work in communist countries and stuff, but these over here work for us. We don't work for them. 3 weeks later, they're showing 1 million infected, 73,000 dead. Back to the surveillance. Vaccine. Centralized government. They said, but judging by the progress over the previous 3 months, they're looking at more estimates that are more likely to be 5 million infected, 350,000 dead. And in another 3 months, they're looking at 30 million infected, 3 million dead. America most severely affected. They're looking at market trends to go, the GDP to go down 11% in the first year. And by the end of the second year, the full effect of 25% fall in GDP. Looking towards the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. That's going to be, your it's going to be somebody's savior. It's not my savior. I know mine. And it ain't the World Bank. It ain't money. $350 billion bailed out Poland, Ireland, and Greece. That was in, 2008, 2009? $350 billion bailed out 3 countries. You keep that in mind every time somebody says something about this $2 trillion aid bill. Enjoy your $1,200, your $600, whatever it is. Personally, I would rather go without for 2 weeks, a month, than to put that burden on people for the next 150 years. It'll never get paid. They'll be slaves forever. The first 2 segments of this is about people, disease. It's the suffering of people. The last 3 segments is all about, poor corporations. What are we going to do with, corporating your money and this? I don't know what to say. I hope people look at this stuff. November the 4th, 2019, this was done. And I just went through pieces of it. You watch the whole thing, you'll see how accurate this is to what we're looking at right now. It's a perfect play. Coincidence? Is it? Boy, Bill Gates has sure got a lot to gain in this one. I mean, a lot to gain. That'll be my next video, because I got another one that's going to make you... If this one's got you doubting, wait till you see the next one. Y'all take care.